The emergency transmission shattered the comm of Command Deck 6 with a piercing crack. Commander Rhea Arkwright froze mid-stride as the holoscreens erupted in distortion, then resolved into a scene she recognized instantly: her home, Aurora 3. The sky was blackened by smoke, the crystalline towers she had grown up beneath collapsing one after another. Screams poured through the speakers, chaotic and raw, until a jagged column of white fire swept across the frame and silenced everything. A voice followed, measured, ceremonial, devoid of remorse. Containment protocol initiated. Humanity has exceeded acceptable thresholds. The transmission ended with a final static hiss. Rhea's knuckles whitened around the edge of the console. For a long moment, the bridge fell silent. Officers exchanged uncertain glances, but no one dared speak. They all knew what Aurora 3 represented: a research colony, lightly defended, one of humanity's greatest academic hubs. No military installations, no weaponized laboratories. Just families, students, and scientists. And they had been erased. Lieutenant Soren approached quietly. "Commander, the timestamp indicates the attack happened only 50 minutes ago." Rhea forced her voice steady. "Try to re-establish contact. Anything: traffic logs, distress pings, background telemetry." "Aye." He hurried back to his station. Rhea inhaled slowly, grounding herself. The shock pressed heavily against her chest, but she set it aside. Panic would help no one, not the people watching her now, nor the civilians whose fate remained unclear. The main holotable flickered again, displaying the Senate seal. "A summons." "Bring it up," Rhea said. The circular chamber materialized in shimmering blue. Senators argued over one another, their voices layered with fear and disbelief. "We don't have confirmation it was the Concorde. They used Concorde weapon signatures. Those could be forged. They abducted an entire colony. Why would humans do that to themselves?" Rhea stepped closer to the projector. "Senators," she said sharply. The chamber quieted. She addressed them with controlled intensity. "Aurora 3 was attacked by forces using Concorde containment fire. The message transmitted was deliberate, and not a fabrication. We must treat this as an act of war." A few senators stiffened. "The Concorde hasn't declared hostilities," Senator Halvin countered. "We have trade treaties, diplomatic accords. And they violated every one of them today," Rhea replied. "They targeted civilians. They issued a protocol number we've never seen. We need to respond before they strike again." Senator Mirren leaned forward. "We still lack proof that the colony is lost. Evacuation data is missing. Telemetry is corrupted. Until we know." "The Concorde erased a world," Rhea said. "If we stall, they'll do it again." The Senate erupted into argument, but Rhea muted the feed. Their debate was meaningless until action replaced caution. Soren returned. "Commander, we extracted a secondary signal. Buried under the main transmission. Play it." The screen filled with flickering images, civilians forced into shimmering containment cells, children crying as drones herded them toward a massive structure of obsidian alloy. The structure pulsed with energy, surrounded by Concorde glyphs. Rhea's jaw tightened. "So they didn't vaporize them. They took them." Soren swallowed. "We don't know for what purpose. We're going to find out," she said. The Senate feed suddenly flashed back, overriding the mute. The Chancellor stood at the center of the chamber, face pale but resolute. "Commander Arkwright," he said, "we've reviewed the evidence. We have confirmed the message signature originated inside the Concorde's Purity Council." Gasps echoed across the chamber. "This is a formal declaration," the Chancellor continued. "All human systems are now under emergency level crimson. Effective immediately, humanity is at war." Rhea exhaled once, steady and controlled. The decision was inevitable. The Chancellor resumed. "Commander Arkwright, you are to assemble a strike rescue fleet. Objective: recover the abducted population and gather evidence of Concorde aggression. The Senate grants you full operational authority, beyond the frontier. The room faded as the transmission ended. Soren turned toward her, anxiety flickering beneath his professionalism. "Commander, what do we do first?" Rhea lifted her gaze toward the stars outside the viewport. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of a promise. "We bring them home." 6 hours later, docking ring 4 was a storm of motion. Engineers jogged between power couplings. Pilots ran diagnostics on gunships that had not seen combat in decades. Civilians gathered in tight clusters, sending silent prayers or urgent messages to loved ones. The ship waiting at the center of the chaos was the HMS Resolute, one of the oldest cruisers still in service. It wore its age proudly, scars etched along its hull from skirmishes long forgotten, plating mismatched from repairs done across half the frontier. But it was dependable, and more importantly, it was available now. Chief Engineer Vanna met Rhea at the ramp. "She'll fly," Vanna said, wiping grease from her cheek. "Barely. But she'll fly." "She'll do," Rhea replied. Vanna hesitated. "Commander, this mission. If the Concorde truly ordered that attack." "They did. Then they won't let us cross their borders without a fight." "They'll try to stop us," Rhea said. "But we're going anyway." The engineer nodded. "Then we'll make her ready." Inside the command deck, the newly assembled officers stood at attention. Many were volunteers, some veterans, others young recruits who had never seen real combat. Rhea addressed them bluntly. "You've seen the news. The Concorde abducted an entire colony, for reasons they refused to explain. We are going to retrieve our people. This mission will take us deep into enemy territory. We'll face fleets larger than our own and defenses designed to break stronger forces. But we have something they don't," Lieutenant Nadir asked quietly. "And what's that, Commander?" "Purpose," Rhea said. "They act out of fear. We act to protect our own. That gives us an edge no doctrine can counter." The crew exchanged determined glances. Fear remained, but resolve cut through it. Rhea took her seat at the command chair. Her hands moved across the console, steady, precise. "All stations, report readiness. Navigation ready. Weapons green. Engines primed. Fleet signals online." Rhea glanced once toward the hollow display of the Aurora 3 survivors, faces frozen in fear beneath shimmering barriers. That image anchored her focus. "Open the wormhole gate," she ordered. The Resolute vibrated as the gate powered up, forming a swirling aperture of blue light. Beyond it lay hostile space, uncertainty, and answers the galaxy had tried to bury. Soren looked to her. "Ready, Commander?" Rhea nodded. "Take us through." The cruiser's engines roared, lifting them forward. Humanity had spent centuries trying to avoid war. The galaxy had mistaken that restraint for weakness. As the Resolute plunged into the wormhole, Rhea made the unspoken vow that would carry her through the conflict ahead. The Concorde started this. Humans would finish it. The Resolute emerged from the wormhole into a sector no human had charted, a region whispered about in ancient records as the architect's graveyard. Stars hung like scattered shards of glass against the void, punctuated by massive rings of debris, remnants of civilizations that predated humanity's first jump drives. The sheer scale of the ruins made even the bravest officer pause, a humbling reminder that the galaxy had always been larger, older, and more dangerous than humans. Rhea stood at the observation deck, arms folded, staring into the void. The wormhole had brought them far beyond standard patrol routes, into a place the Concorde avoided, a place of hidden power. "They fear this space," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. Lieutenant Soren approached quietly, holding a tablet displaying sensor readings. "Commander, the architecture here, the designs aren't just abandoned. There's energy flowing through some of the ruins. Residual systems, old, but active." Rhea's eyes narrowed. "Energy patterns?" "Like conduits," Soren replied. "They respond to presence, almost alive." Vanna, the chief engineer, joined them, her voice clipped. "If we're not careful, those systems could fry our circuits, or worse. This sector isn't mapped for human ships. Navigating through it without triggering the wrong mechanism is precarious. Rhea nodded. Precarious doesn't scare us. She turned sharply, addressing the bridge crew. All stations, remain alert. Sensors tuned to every frequency, every pulse. We move slow, but we move steady. The Concorde won't expect us here. That's our advantage. The fleet of 5 human ships followed the Resolute into the graveyard, their movements cautious but precise. The silence of space was oppressive, only broken by the hum of engines and occasional sensor alerts. Every crew member felt the tension. Some stared at the ruins, some at consoles, but all understood the unspoken truth. Here, humans were explorers in the most dangerous sense. There was no instruction manual for what lay ahead. An hour passed before the first anomaly appeared, a derelict Concorde ship, partially embedded in a broken moon. Its hull was scarred, energy conduits sparking intermittently. No life readings. Commander, that ship isn't dead, said Lieutenant Nadir. There's a faint power signature, life support minimal, but someone's still on board. Rhea's mind sharpened. Prepare a boarding team. We need intel, and if they're alive, they may have critical information on Aurora 3's abducted population. Vanna spoke up, hesitant. It could be a trap. This area, it's not natural. Architect Tech tends to respond to intrusion. Then we'll be careful, Rhea said. We've survived worse. A team of 6 boarded the derelict via magnetized pods. As they entered the cold interior, the silence of the vessel pressed in on them, broken only by the faint hum of dying systems. Panels flickered to life, projecting incomprehensible symbols before sputtering again. The architect's language was unfamiliar, yet some of the crew felt a peculiar resonance, as if the ship itself recognized human presence. They found the occupant in a sealed cabin, a Concorde scientist, half-conscious, restrained. Rhea's boarding officer called in. Commander, we've secured the target. Alive but weak. Rhea moved into the cabin via remote feed, eyes scanning the pale figure. Identify yourself, she commanded. The scientist's voice was faint but controlled. I am Zeltor, of the Purity Council. You shouldn't have come here. Rhea ignored the threat. You know why we're here. Aurora 3? Tell me what you've done, and who ordered it. Zeltor coughed, then sneered faintly. You humans, always so direct. You destroy worlds, yet you plead for what remains. Your people are dangerous. That is why the Council intervened. Rhea's grip on the console tightened. Dangerous? You call this danger? She gestured to the hollow feed of Aurora 3's civilians. This is extermination disguised as containment. Speak clearly, or we assume you are complicit. The scientist hesitated. The Concorde does not exterminate without reason. Humanity exceeds limits we cannot allow. Genetic adaptability, rapid technological progression, the balance cannot tolerate it. Aurora 3 was an experiment in stress response. We observe. We study. Control measures necessary. Silence fell over the team. Rhea's heart pounded, not in fear, but in controlled fury. Every syllable confirmed what she had feared. The Concorde had been planning, manipulating, testing humans for decades. You use them as lab rats, she said softly. And you call it precaution. Evolution must be guided, Zeltor replied. Unchecked, humanity, catastrophic. Rhea's jaw tightened. Then let the galaxy see what we do under pressure. She activated a remote interface, locking the scientist into a secure containment field aboard the Resolute. We're going to find your proof, and we're going to bring it to every species that's afraid of the Concorde. The fleet continued through the graveyard, navigating past massive debris fields, half-collapsed orbital rings, and dormant stations. Each step was measured. Sensors detected faint architect pulses embedded in wreckage. Systems seemed to respond to human proximity with low-frequency vibrations. Vanna, observing from engineering, muttered, It's as if they approve. Rhea didn't respond immediately. She studied the stars, calculating wormhole coordinates, enemy fleet projections, and civilian rescue routes simultaneously. Humans weren't just surviving here, they were adapting. This sector was dangerous, but within it lay opportunity. The Concorde had avoided this region for centuries. That alone could give her the leverage needed to turn the tide. Hours later, a sudden alert blared. The fleet's sensors detected a massive energy field ahead, a dormant architect gateway, far larger than any human or Concorde ship. It pulsed with power, waiting. If activated, it could allow the fleet to bypass standard patrol sectors entirely. Soren looked at Rhea. Commander, this could cut our travel time in half, but it's risky. We don't know the activation protocols, and the Concorde certainly won't let us through unchallenged. Rhea's eyes gleamed. Humans don't follow protocols where the map ends. Prepare the interface. We engage. Vanna's hands moved quickly, running calculations and diagnostics. We'll have one shot. If the field rejects us, it could collapse entirely, killing everyone. Rhea's gaze returned to the void. Then we make it count. Everyone ready. We bring our people home. The Resolute surged forward. Its hull shimmered as the gateway accepted their presence. Ships trembled under sudden energy fluctuations. For a moment, the void itself seemed alive, judging the intruders. Then, with a shudder, the fleet passed through. Beyond the gateway lay uncharted space, dark but navigable. Stars burned brighter. Silence returned, but it carried promise, opportunity, intelligence, and the faint echo of a human heartbeat defiant in the galaxy's depths. Rhea turned to her officers, voice quiet but fierce. We've crossed into enemy territory. The Concorde knows we are coming. They will send everything they have. But out here, humans survive. They adapt. And we will reach Aurora 3. Nadir grinned, tension breaking slightly. Commander, I think the galaxy underestimated us. Rhea allowed a thin smile. Let them continue. Underestimation is a human weapon. And we're about to show the Concorde just how dangerous humans can be. The Resolute and its fleet pressed onward, deeper into the darkness. Every pulse of the engines, every flicker of the stars, was a promise. Humanity had begun its counterstroke, and nothing in the galaxy would remain unchanged. The fleet approached the Concorde's containment citadel under the shadow of a dying star, its blackened spires stretching impossibly high, jagged against the orange glare of the supernova's light. From orbit, it appeared indestructible, a fortress designed not only to contain humans but to terrify. Every panel, every turret, every pulsing energy conduit broadcast a single message: humanity was not welcome. Rhea's hand rested lightly on the command console, though her mind raced faster than the data streams cascading across her displays. The fleet had survived the graveyard, traversed an uncharted gateway, and emerged into enemy space with minimal detection. But this was different. Here, the Concorde had had decades to prepare. Here, humans would be tested not by curiosity or accident, but by deliberate design. Lieutenant Soren's voice broke the tension. Commander, scans indicate hundreds of defense satellites. Automated energy grids. Cloaked patrols, some using architect-based cloaking technology. They know we're coming. Rhea nodded. Then we adapt. Her voice carried the calm of certainty, the kind that forced belief in those around her. No fleet in the galaxy fights like humans. Not in strategy, not in unpredictability. We'll find their weakness. Vanna leaned close, eyes wide as she studied the energy readouts. The Citadel's shield generators, they're not standard Concorde tech. They're powered by residual architect nodes. Conventional assault will fail. We'll need to breach the defenses from inside. Then we go inside, Rhea said simply. We've never done this before. That's exactly why they can't anticipate us. The first strike was subtle but effective. Using micro-wormholes harvested from the graveyard, the fleet deployed rapid insertion pods, bypassing the outer turrets. The Concorde, confident in their impenetrable outer defenses, were caught off guard. Within minutes, boarding teams had infiltrated lower decks, marking safe corridors for the main assault. Rhea's view of the Citadel flickered on the hollow screen, highlighting troop movements, energy flows, and the faintly visible life signs of the human prisoners. Families, scientists, children, confined in translucent energy cells stacked in perfect order, silent but alive. She clenched her jaw. Status? Lieutenant Nadir responded, voice tight. Boarding teams report minimal resistance so far. Automated systems are recalibrating. The humans, our people, are alive. Then we keep moving, Rhea said. Her tone carried the weight of command and the conviction of a mother protecting her children. Nothing else matters. The Concorde did not remain idle for long. Across the citadel, High Seer Valer Zithros observed the intrusion with cold precision. He was ancient, deliberate, and unnervingly calm. A holographic display of Rhea's fleet flickered before him. They've crossed my perimeter, Valer said to the assembled council. His voice carried authority and the faint edge of fascination. They are clever and dangerous. Proceed with the containment escalation. Engage Protocol Delta. A ripple of energy swept through the citadel. Floors shifted, corridors reconfigured, turrets re-aimed. The humans, unaccustomed to such architectural fluidity, hesitated for only a heartbeat. Rhea's hand moved across her console, recalibrating team directives and issuing new paths in real time. Adapt, she muttered. Always adapt. The fleet pressed forward, encountering pockets of Concorde soldiers and automated drones. Humans had always been underestimated. Their opponents assumed obedience to military doctrine, rigid predictability, and reliance on superior numbers. Rhea's fleet turned that assumption into chaos. Boarding teams exploited gravitational quirks, twisted corridors, and energy anomalies to bypass defenses. One small unit hacked the Citadel's communication grid, broadcasting taunting messages in human languages across the Concorde network. You think your fear controls us, the message read. It only reveals your weakness. The Concorde soldiers paused. Confusion spread through ranks. Valer's calculated expression faltered, just slightly. Finally, Rhea breached the central atrium, the heart of the citadel. From the high vantage point, she saw the prisoners. Hundreds of humans, confined but unbroken. The energy cells pulsed in synchronized rhythm, feeding off Concorde energy grids and architect nodes alike. Then the unexpected happened. Valer's voice resonated throughout the chamber. Commander Arkwright, he said, calm, precise, but layered with disdain. You should not have come. Rhea's fingers hovered over the activation console. You won't stop me, she said. Valer materialized, appearing as a projection, a ceremonial figure in flowing robes that shimmered with faint energy. His eyes, pale and unblinking, studied her like one would examine a new specimen. Humans, he said, voice resonating, almost hypnotic. You think your defiance is courage. You do not understand. The galaxy is balanced. Species must exist in harmony. Your kind threatens that balance. It is why Aurora 3 was taken. Rhea stepped closer, unafraid. Threat? You abducted my people, experimented on them, and called it balance. Fear is not balance, Valer. Fear is weakness, and humans never bow to weakness. Valer's gaze hardened. Do you understand why the Purity Council exists? To prevent species from overrunning one another. To guide evolution. Humanity is uncontainable without interference. That is the truth you refuse to see. I see your truth, Rhea said. You're afraid. That's why you destroy. You can't control evolution, Valer. Not ours, not anyone's. We survive because we adapt. You've underestimated that, and you will pay the price. The chamber pulsed as Valer activated the Citadel's self-purge sequence, a cascade of energy designed to neutralize all organic life, converting matter into containment-ready grids. Light washed across the room, forcing the fleet to retreat to safer zones. Rhea's mind raced. Shields up. Redirect energy flows. Deploy the hack team. Lieutenant Soren moved instantly, fingers dancing across the console. Vanna's engineering calculations guided energy pulses to exploit dormant architect conduits. The team worked in unison, humans improvising, adapting, creating solutions on the fly, unbound by doctrine. The Concord's perfect system faltered. Architect nodes flickered in response to human ingenuity, granting small but crucial advantages. Vaylor's projection shimmered in frustration. Impossible! You should not exist here. Rhea's voice carried across the chamber. We exist because we refuse to be broken. With a final coordinated strike, the human hack team disrupted the containment grid long enough to begin freeing the prisoners. One by one, energy cells dissolved, humans stepping out with fear and wonder etched on their faces. Children clung to parents, scientists rushed to consoles, civilians stared in disbelief at the humans who had come for them. Vaylor's projection flickered violently. You cannot win! Rhea's hand moved over the central console. We already have. The chamber trembled as the Citadel's systems faltered under human adaptability. Energy conduits sparked, floors stabilized, and the prisoners were fully freed. The Concord's control, absolute for centuries, was shattered in moments by the sheer force of human ingenuity and determination. Rhea stood in the central atrium, looking out over the liberated humans, their eyes wide but alive. Every fear, every loss, every scar had led to this moment. Vaylor's projection dimmed, leaving only a pale echo of his presence. This is temporary, he whispered. The galaxy will correct this. Rhea ignored him. No. Not while humans breathe. We rise. Always. The freed civilians moved toward the extraction pods. The fleet awaited, ready to ferry them out of enemy territory. And as they boarded, Rhea took a moment to look back at the Citadel, once a symbol of fear, now a testament to human defiance. The stars beyond shone brighter, the dying supernova casting light across a new chapter. The Concorde had underestimated humans. They had misjudged their resilience, their creativity, their unwillingness to bow. And humanity had just begun. The containment citadel shook beneath the force of the human assault. Its black spires, once symbols of the Concorde's absolute control, now vibrated with the pulse of human ingenuity. Everywhere, alarms blared, energy conduits sparking in chaotic patterns, turrets firing at unpredictable vectors. The Concorde had designed their fortress to crush intruders, but they had not accounted for humans, adaptive, relentless, and daring in ways no protocol could anticipate. Rhea Arkwright stood on the Resolute's command deck, watching the chaos unfold through a network of holographic feeds. Her fleet, battered but unbroken, maneuvered with precision, exploiting every flaw in the Citadel's defenses. Boarding teams infiltrated the inner sanctums, freeing prisoners and disabling energy grids with improvisational brilliance. Humans did not follow doctrine, they invented solutions in real time, turning adversity into advantage. Lieutenant Nadir's voice cut through the comms, tight with excitement and urgency. Commander! The central conduit is unstable. If we can overload it, we can shut down the purge sequence. Do it, Rhea replied. Vanna, coordinate with them. Make it happen. Vanna's fingers flew over the console, rerouting power and calculating safe thresholds for the overload. Sparks danced across panels as she integrated human technology with dormant architect nodes. It's risky, she warned, voice calm but firm. One miscalculation, and the entire citadel could implode. But it's our only shot. Rhea's eyes hardened. Then we take the risk. Lives are at stake. Deep within the citadel, Vaylor Zithros appeared in person, materializing from the shadows of the central chamber. His presence radiated authority, and yet there was a faint tremor in the air around him, an unaccustomed unease. The High Seer's gaze fixed on Rhea as she stepped into the atrium with a small contingent of soldiers and freed civilians. You persist, Vaylor intoned, voice echoing against the obsidian walls. You do not understand what you face. Humanity cannot endure what is coming. Rhea advanced, unwavering. I understand perfectly. You underestimate us. You always have. Vaylor's eyes narrowed. This is not mere underestimation. You threaten the balance of all species. You evolve too quickly, you adapt too easily, you are dangerous. Rhea raised her hand, motioning to the freed prisoners rallying behind her. Dangerous? You call us that because we refuse to bow, because we fight for each other, because we survive. That's not danger, it's life. And life will not be contained. Vaylor's lips curled into a rare expression, something between irritation and admiration. Then you will die trying. The purge sequence is unstoppable. Even you cannot defy it. Rhea's gaze swept over her team, every member prepared for what was to come. Nothing is unstoppable. Not if humans decide otherwise. The chamber trembled as Vaylor activated the Citadel's self-purge. Energy surged in great arcs, cascading through the atrium. The walls glowed with lethal light. The humans froze only briefly, then reacted. Soldiers rerouted energy from emergency nodes, freed civilians, hacked architect terminals, and engineers rerouted power into controlled channels to destabilize the purge. Every movement was precise, improvised, fearless. Rhea activated her personal interface, linking it to the central conduit. Her fingers danced over controls, overriding security protocols and feeding the system calculated surges. The Citadel groaned as the purge sequence faltered, nodes collapsing under unexpected stress. Vaylor roared in frustration. Impossible! How can you manipulate architect constructs with such ease? Rhea's voice rang clear, unwavering. We adapt. That's what makes us human. The energy pulse halted abruptly. For a moment, the chamber hung in silence. Then, systems failed in a controlled cascade, turrets ceased firing, energy grids dimmed, containment cells dissolved. The prisoners, dazed but alive, stepped forward. Rhea's team formed a protective circle around them, shepherding them toward the exit. Vaylor's figure flickered unstable. He raised his hands in a final attempt to reclaim control, but the Citadel no longer obeyed him. Architect systems, recognizing human ingenuity as a new dominant factor, shut down his influence. His voice, once commanding, became a desperate whisper. This is temporary, he said. The galaxy will correct this. Rhea met his gaze. No. Not while humans breathe. Not while we choose to fight. Humanity has survived worse than your fear, Vaylor. And this is proof. Outside, the fleet moved swiftly to extract the freed civilians. Boarding pods lifted families, scholars, and engineers away from the Citadel's shattered hull. The Concorde ships scrambled, attempting to intercept, but the human fleet, unbound by predictable tactics, flanked and outmaneuvered them. Each strike was calculated yet unorthodox, exploiting weaknesses the Concorde had never imagined. Lieutenant Soren reported, exhilarated. They're breaking formation. The Concorde fleets. They can't respond fast enough. Rhea allowed herself a faint smile. Good. Let them watch what humans can do when cornered. Even as the Concorde attempted to regroup, the humans had become an unstoppable force of ingenuity and courage. Every success of the fleet reinforced the central truth: humanity did not rely on numbers, doctrine, or fear of death. They relied on each other, on creativity, and on the refusal to surrender. In the final moments, Rhea stood on the Resolute's observation deck, watching Vaylor's retreating projection flicker and fade. The Citadel, once a symbol of terror and control, was now a monument to human defiance. Behind her, the rescued civilians, shaken but alive, gathered, murmuring words of gratitude and relief. Rhea's voice carried across the calms, calm but firm. Today, the Concorde learned what we always knew. Humans cannot be contained. We will survive, we will rise, and we will fight for each other no matter the odds. The freed humans erupted in cheers, their voices carrying across the fleet, echoing through the void. Outside, stars burned brighter against the dark canvas of space, as if acknowledging the birth of a new era. The galaxy had misjudged humanity. It had miscalculated the strength of life that refused to bow. Rhea turned to her officers. Prepare for departure. We take our people home. The galaxy will hear our story. And the Concorde, they will remember it. Lieutenant Nadir grinned. Commander, I think the galaxy underestimated us. Rhea allowed a faint smile, tinged with relief but heavy with resolve. Let them continue. Underestimation is a human weapon. And this is only the beginning. As the Resolute and its fleet lifted the last of the prisoners through the portal network, Rhea looked out at the stars. Humanity had survived its first galactic war. They had adapted, improvised, and triumphed. And now, with the Concord's authority fractured, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. Somewhere deep in the remnants of the Citadel, Vaylor's whisper lingered, a promise of vengeance. "This is not over." Rhea's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll be ready." And with that, humanity roared, defiant, unbroken, and unstoppable.